have an intro in most of my podcasts, but do people really listen to them anyway? Do you just skip through them? What do you think? Anyway, I just thought I'd jump right into it. And if you haven't heard, I just launched my free course. It's only 20 minutes long. It's called The Foundations of Weight Loss, 8 Steps to Lifelong Change. All BS aside, these 8 steps are literally how I lost 115 pounds and changed my life in all aspects. And quite honestly, I can guarantee if you truly do follow all of these 8 steps and are consistent with them, you can make a lifelong change. So check out the link in the description if you're interested. I also have my group membership coaching starting at $9.99 a month. And of course, I have my one-on-one coaching packages. So if you want to have a discussion free of charge to see if they're right for you, we can chat, see if we're a fit, and go from there. Remember that anything is possible. You can do anything you set your mind to, and you are unstoppable. So today on the podcast, we have Ed Durocher, and super excited to have him because my band Before the Dinosaurs played with him on my birthday this year. I don't even know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the show, Ed. And Ed is the lead guitarist, leader of his band, the Apollo Sons. And is there 9 of you when you're playing in your hometown, you said?
There's like 9 when we're at home, and then 7 on the road. And then we've been known to hire the occasional player if it's like a big show and we want to impress some people or overly impress, I guess. I forgot the Moncton show was on your birthday. That was such a crazy show. Remember those little kids?
Yeah, that's right.
That's nuts. So for anyone listening, there were like this roving gang of hooligans, just like these little they must have been like 12 to 15, and they're just causing so much trouble, like so much shit.
They were I remember I didn't even see any of this happen. I don't know if you saw it happen, but
I was there for a couple of confrontations, but not the worst one.
It was either while we were playing or while you were playing. They went in there and they were trying to break into the other show that was happening in the same complex, and they were trying to steal a broom and a mop or something like that. And the security guards chased them out. And then apparently, because these kids were literally 12, 15 years old.
They're little kids.
They're little kids. And the bouncers had to come out, and one of them pulled a knife or a machete on them or something.
Yeah.
And they looked like kids that would never use a machete, but I guess you never know. I don't know. Maybe they look like kids who had machetes to look cool.
And I remember someone was remember the good old days where you could just punch a kid? It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, how many 12-year-olds am I gonna have to fight? Because they were beaking they were beaking us and then beaking friends that were at the show. And they were calling calling a friend of mine just really rude things to call a woman. And I was like, oh my God, geez. But anyway, I mean, I remember being 12, but I wasn't doing that.
Neither was I. And I guess that's why part of why they have this podcast is to hopefully create less of those kids in this world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, go pick up an instrument.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that's cool about Ed is he's from Winnipeg. Are you from Winnipeg or you just live there now?
Oh God, I reluctantly would say I'm a Winnipegger now. But my hometown is Victoria, BC. But I've been in Winnipeg for since I was 8 or 9. So I am for all purposes a Winnipegger. Not that it's a bad place to be. It's cheap. It's inexpensive to live here compared to most of Canada, and there's a relatively the art scene is supported conceptually, but financially it's Winnipeg's kind of cheap. People here are cheap. For instance, if we charge $20 a ticket somewhere else, we charge $5 less here because people will complain.
Really? I feel like that's also New Brunswick too, though.
Oh yeah, but like New Brunswick is like a poor province. Like,
Yeah. Thanks,
yeah,
man. It
I mean, like,
hurts my
I mean,
heart. I'm
like,
just kidding. I know. We know it's true.
but
We
it's
know
like
it's true.
Alberta or like BC. Like, man, those provinces are loaded.
Yeah.
Um, no, but and like, but I love playing New Brunswick. Like we've played Fredericton, St. Andrews, Moncton, of course, and like Folly Fest, and it's been so much fun. Yeah, yeah, we're always super stoked to be on the East Coast, and the
Yeah.
food's good. Food is so good.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time here, and you were very well received by everybody
Yeah.
that's seen you. When you came, when you were playing with us, I told some friends that they already knew who you were, so that's a good sign.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's cool. It's always interesting now that like the band has gotten to that point where like I'm still like hustling and promoting and marketing, of course, but it's interesting now that like we're at a point where like people are telling their friends who are telling their friends, like like our like like our circle has grown, like like
yeah,
like
yeah.
several times. It's nice. Like I have people coming up to me at shows being like, "Oh, my friend told me to come see you guys." And you're like, "Oh, damn!" Like people are taking the time to tell like their, like their friends to come see us. So yeah,
Yeah, word of mouth is the best advertising.
it's nice. It's nice when you don't have to beg them to come. You know.
Exactly. Well, you're putting so much work into what you do, and it's super inspiring to me. And that's exactly why I had you on
Thanks.
there. And it's just like inspiring for anybody who wants to make things happen in their life. And I just want to say before we continue the conversation, I actually this Winnipeg is my second home, so I think Winnipeg's awesome.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
yeah, my dad's whole side of the family lives there, so ever since I was a kid, I've been going there once or twice a year for you know summertime or Christmas and stuff just to hang out. So
It's not even that I don't like. It's not that I don't like Winnipeg. Like it's got a lot of great things happening, but when you go to a bunch of like, I've been all over the U.S. and Canada just touring, and it's like Winnipeg could be so much better if it didn't let the suburbs decide all of our development and improvement. Like Winnipeg, I find is like 5 years behind major cities in like development, like urban development, infrastructure, like even like bike lanes. My God, the amount of times they try to put in a bike lane and people complain about it, you're like,
oh really?
oh my God.
Did they remove the bike lanes once they're added or
They, I no, they don't. But like
no?
the suburbs, people will be like, this is inconvenient for me. It's like you don't live down here, so like bugger off, like yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. So what got you into music to begin with? Like when did you start playing music?
I started when I was 12 or 13, and I started on a one string acoustic, or maybe I had two strings, but it wouldn't stay in tune. It was like my aunt gave it to me because I just said I wanted to play guitar. And yeah, and she gave me like this old like one or two string guitar that had a really nice pick guard on it, but that was it.
Like okay, a one or like literally like it was missing strings or that's what it was like.
No, it was missing strings. It was an
Okay, I was gonna
acoustic.
say I don't know if there's
And
some special guitar that has one or two
no,
strings.
no, no, it was just a piece of crap. Um, but like being 12, I didn't know that you could restring a guitar. Like no one told me this.
Yeah.
Like no one in my family plays guitar or any instruments. Like my family is not a musical family by any
Yeah.
means. I always got so jealous of my friends who had musical families. Like a couple of my best friends, like their siblings are musicians, their parents are, their uncles and aunts are, like, and it's like they like grew up singing songs. I was like, oh man, like I didn't do that. But I remember what it was. I got really sick one summer. And are you I don't know how old you are, but do you remember SARS and like SARS stock in
Yeah,
Toronto?
yeah, I do. Well, I'm 30 years old. But
Oh,
yeah, I do
okay,
remember.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm 34. So I was like 16. No, I was like 12 when that was happening.
Yeah.
12 or 13. And whatever, what was it? Like the channel that was airing it spent the whole day playing old Rolling Stones and AC/DC like videos. and I was like, oh man, these guys are so cool, and like this music is so cool, and like I want to learn the Satisfaction riff, and that was kind of like, like watching Keith Richards on stage. I was like, man, that guy's a badass, like that guy just looks dope, like so that's kind of what like made me want to play. And I just thought like the Satisfaction riff was like the greatest thing ever. So yeah, I bugged my mom for a guitar, and my aunt gave me this unstrung one. I think it had two strings on it. And then I bugged my dad for a guitar. I got one for Christmas. It was like one of those Squire player, like you go to Lon McQuaid, and they
Yeah.
had the terrible amp, and it was Squire
Yeah,
Strat.
yeah.
Yeah, so I learned like the Hell's Bells riff, and like in a Blink 182 song and an Iron Maiden song. And that's kind of how I started. Just playing and practicing, and staying up late at night. I remember I would have like pretty bad anxiety attacks when I was like 14 or 15. And then I would just like pick up the guitar, and it would like calm me down. And I just like noodle a bit, and like, just play whatever I could, and practice. Yeah, and it would like, my like heart would stop racing, and when you're having a panic attack and you're like, oh god, I think I'm dying, or like, how come I can't breathe, and like it's just like, you just
Yeah.
got to slow down a little bit. Yeah, so it was very therapeutic in that sense. Yeah,
Absolutely,
don't.
man. Music is super therapeutic
Yeah,
for mental health, and
yeah, totally.
yeah, that's why I do it. It's my therapy, and I'm sure it's yours. Even though it's probably crazy doing all these shows on your tour, like it's at the same time it helps your mental health. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I really believe in, that it's like my contribution, I guess, to the community, or to people, or just like your contribution as a human being, to like putting something positive out into the world that you can like stand behind. And I think that's like very important.
Yeah,
um
man, it makes them dance, makes them groove, get into it, and
yeah,
brings
make people
joy.
happy.
Yeah,
And hopefully, like, we're always like, I just want people to leave our show, leave our event with the experience, and then go and be a slightly better human being the next day. Like, if it helps you be kinder to everyone around you, like, we've done our job.
oh, exactly, man. How could you not feel good
Yeah.
after one of your shows? It's super
Oh man.
uplifting.
Yeah, I feel great. Well, my body's sore, but I feel great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So do you play
Mhm.
any other instruments or just the guitar?
I dabble on, like I play bass, but like a guitar player would play bass, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So sometimes if I'm trying to write, I'll layer on some bass. I know how to play like beginner piano. And anything with strings that's fretted, like a banjo or ukulele or mandolin, you can kind of pick up and like mess
Yeah.
around with once you have like a basic knowledge of theory. You can kind of like, but the older I get, the more respect I have for other instruments, and that they are their own thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever had that, but you're like, oh, I play guitar, I can pick up a banjo or a mandolin, and it's like, well, yeah, you can, but they're like a whole other skill set, and it's a
Uh,
whole other technique, and it's like another. But I think it's really important as well for musicians to kind of take a stab at other instruments, because it helps inform your the concept of your main instrument. Like when I play bass a bunch, I play guitar differently after. Or like, or if you're messing around on like mandolin or banjo, I will play guitar differently for a little bit after, once I go back to it, because you're like, you're kind of in it, you're kind of working a different part of your like musical
yeah.
brain. But
Yeah. Well, my dad always told me since I was young that just playing one instrument helps you play another, and it just adds to the
yeah,
diversity of you as a musician. And you can it gives you more creativity, like creative
mhm,
freedom when you're songwriting and stuff. You'll just have
totally.
more inspirations come in. You'll be able to do more because you know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely become like, yeah, just more well-rounded and developed. A big thing for me was like honing in and paying attention to time and rhythm, and like that sensibility, because like I definitely had lead guitar syndrome for a while, where like you would just want to play as many notes as you could because that's what I thought music being musical was.
Yeah,
But
that's
it
a classic.
yeah,
Yeah,
like any 18-year-old guitar player, like you're like, oh, I know this pentatonic riff, or I can play like this many notes. You're like, yeah, all right, whatever. Um, but now it's like since the band and myself have we've been like really diving into rhythms and like really internalizing more complex rhythms, my like lead vocabulary and playing has become, I think, way more musical. Like I feel like my phrasing and just like my lead lines are now more connected. They're more melodic and they're more rhythmic, which makes it easier for people to pick up on when you're playing really rhythmically and melodically. It's like the average listener who isn't a musician can pick it up and like understand like what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. So you're playing sort of a psychedelic jazz rock infusion kind of
Yeah.
thing. Have you always been interested in that style? Like, is how did you get to learning that style and wanting to play
Uh,
it?
I started out like blues rock, like Cream, Zeppelin,
Yeah,
Guns N' Roses, ACD, like all the classics,
yeah.
Like tons of Aerosmith, and like all those bands are dope and great. Like I learned a lot, but I started playing with this bass player when I was like 21, named Dave Gannett, and every week because we didn't have girlfriends and we didn't really like have um we just had time on our hands because we're in our early 20s, and we didn't have like partners. So every week or like twice a week, he would come over and bring like a stack of vinyl, and we would just listen to records, like we would like smoke a joint and like put on three records and then just talk about what we were listening to and like kind of like talking about what we liked, what we didn't like, and how like everything that was like going on that we could understand. So throughout this time, he started bringing in a lot of like progressive rock and fusion jazz and like Mahavishnu Orchestra, King Crimson, yes, the Mars Volta, Billy Cobham, Chick Corea, like tons of really groovy stuff. And that's how I kind of got into that psychedelic jazz rock fusion. And we weren't playing that yet. We are still trying to sing and write choruses and melody
Yeah.
and like hooks. And we're not, Dave and I were terrible singers. I am a horrible singer.
Yeah, I
Um,
was just about to ask if you can sing.
I mean, I can carry a note, but I'm not like a singer. Like I could carry a background, like a two note background, like backup phrase, and do that fine. But I'm not a lead singer by any means. So we played in a couple of bands, and then we it dissolved.
What
The
kind of
last
bands were
one,
you playing and what was your first
it was
band?
like psychedelic progressive rock,
Okay.
pretty rock based. Pretty simple, but like long song structures.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we did that, and that was Electric Soul. We that was the last band. But what happened was, and this is kind of like, to me it's like it's like fate, if you believe in that, or just like whatever you believe in, destiny, or like just these moments.
Serendipity.
Yeah, it's like the moments that kind of define you a little bit, or they push you off in the direction that you're kind of like your inner person is like, oh, you should go this way. So what happened was that Electric Soul dissolved, but we still had like 5 days, five gigs, and we didn't want to lose them because we wanted money, and we were like, we wanted to get paid and play some music. So our bass player left and Dave was playing keys at the point. So we moved Dave over to bass, and we were just a three piece, and we invited some friends up, like a flute player, a sax player, and like another percussionist. And we just made up a 45-minute set. Like we literally just improvised the entire time. And like what happened was is that the crowd response from that, because we were just having fun. We were laughing on stage and poking fun at each other when we'd mess up, and it was just fun. We weren't playing for any sort of ego. We weren't playing to impress anyone. We were just having fun and like trading facial expressions and shit, and like hand signals. Um, so, but the crowd response to that was great. Like everyone was like, "You should do that more," and we're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And then we did it again, and there was a bigger crowd and an even better crowd response. Like, oh man, maybe there is something here. Um, and that was kind of like the embryo, like kind of like the I always call it the purgatory year, where we are kind of just figuring it out. And that was kind of like the embryo stage for Apollo Suns. So after that, Dave and I kind of sat down and were like, I think there's something here. Why don't we get a consistent lineup and write some melodies and have some rehearsals and some actual jams and like some improvisation parts and also melodies that people can follow along and it'll have some sort of form and structure. And then we just started building the band from that. We started off as a 4-piece, then we got a couple of horn players, and then we got a couple of percussion players, and then we were like off to the races. And at that point, as well, in my personal life, I had just broken up with like a long term, like 6-year relationship. And so I was kind of like floating around, and you know that stage in like your late mid 20s where you've kind of got your shit together, but not really. But you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out where you want to go and what you want to do, and you've been partying in your early 20s and you've got a lot of fun stories, but you don't really have much to show. And I was living with a friend, and it wasn't bleak, but it was like this transitional period where I didn't have much furniture. All I was doing was working and playing music and going out and drinking and just like, whatever have you with that lifestyle. And at that point I was like, I think it's like time, and we're talking about like what it takes, this inspiration or what it takes to get yourself to a level, and it's like it's so cliche, but it's like a leap of faith. You just got to take it, and like and then it was like that of like being like, okay, I think I've made enough mistakes as an amateur band leader with this last band, that I've made enough mistakes to kind of figure out how to do things the right way, like planning and properly promoting and honestly playing to your strengths. If you're not a good singer, maybe either find a singer or find what is resonating, and whatever that is, it doesn't have to be one thing or the other, but find what is resonating with you. And if it feels good to you, you're going to just love it, and you're going to be able to push it, and people are going to feel it because you're feeling it, like that. So it started like that. And then but before I met my now current partner, and who I'm parenting, and we're like together, and we're like parenting a small child together. I was like, I kind of made a pact with myself of like, every decision I make from here on out is going to be to service this dream and this thing that I believe in. Because as soon as we started playing as Apollo Suns and like really putting it together, it just felt right. Have you ever played in bands where you have to fight over everything and every song is a challenge to write and everything is
Yeah.
a pain in the ass? There's like this switch that happens when things just flow, and even though it's still challenging, it still flows. Like even on Apollo Sun's worst days, and when I just want to quit and say screw it and go home and batten down the hatches and board up my house and never talk to anyone again, I can still look back on that day and be like, it was a good day. Like even in the worst times in the tour van, and you're like, you're so tired, you miss your family, and you just lost some money on the last gig or whatever happened, or a tire blew out, or the promoter's a dick or whatever, and it's just like one of the worst days. I still look back on those worst days and be like, man, that was a good time. And that's how I know, like, that
Absolutely.
it's flowing and people are getting it. And so it's so much easier to be like, everything I do, I'm going to do for this, you
I love
know?
that. I love that, man. It sounds like
Yeah.
you're really, connected to your inner being, and like
Yeah.
just listening to your calling, and your
Yeah.
purpose and what you were born to do. Like, you know, I believe like just as a seed is destined to be a tree, and honey or bees make honey and pollinate the flowers, and each and every one of us lies a purpose that we have to
Yeah.
discover throughout our lifetime. And sometimes we discover it like early at an early age, and sometimes we discover it later in life. But the way
Yeah.
you're talking, the way you're describing, and the feelings it gives you, it's an indication that you are following
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be doing.
And also like understanding that you can have different purposes, and and throughout your life I found things that I really like and enjoy that are not music, but they also feed in to that goal as well. Like and like, yeah, and like finding ways to be musical in life without actually playing music, like have you ever met people that like are just kind of like just very musical, even though they're not playing an
Yeah.
instrument,
Oh yeah,
but they're just,
absolutely.
you're just like, damn, like even the way you're talking, even though you're phrasing is very musical, and it just, you know, so it's like, yeah, it's not about playing music. It's just about like living it, and it's like pseudo new agey yada 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 as that sounds. It's kind of like to to me, it's like, I don't know. It just kind of makes the most sense, and you can have a lot of passions in life. Like I'm not telling anyone, or I'm not even saying like you have to be singularly minded. I mean, I am, but I'm also like, it's good to have times to zone out and not be fully in it as well, and be like, you know what, I'm in it, but I'm like, I just want to draw or journal,
Yeah.
or I like working out. I like going to the gym because that's the time where I just listen to a podcast. I'll throw in a podcast, and I won't listen, and I won't think about music. I won't listen to music. I won't think about the business. It'll just be like, I'm just going to listen to this podcast, go for a run, and do some weights, and then get on with the day. But like that's my time to be like, just take a breath.
Absolutely, man. There's a balance within everything, and we need to spend a little bit of time
Yeah.
doing a little bit of everything. And
Yeah.
I there's a couple of things I love that you said. And the first one was when you said um taking that leap of faith and just kind of
Mm.
for Apollo Suns, because that's what feels best, and you want to live every moment building that dream that you have. And
Hmm.
everything that you do, you want to build that dream that you have. Like I really love that. To me, that's very inspiring, and people can take that and apply it to anything in their
Oh yeah.
life. It's like sometimes, like if there's something you're thinking about in your mind and you haven't done it yet, like sometimes you just need to take that leap of faith and just go for it, because life's so short. Like we could literally die tomorrow, and you
Yeah.
might as well just do what you love, or at least try doing it. There's a
Yeah.
quote I love by Robert Plant. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time,
Oh, nice.
and it's something along the lines of, he was just talking about when they started Led Zeppelin, and they were, I don't know, probably about to start touring or wanted to take things to another level. He said by the age of, I don't know what it was, 18 or 19 or whatever it was, he decided to pack his bags and hit the road. And he said, I just I just figured, if I die by the roadside, then so be it. I die by the roadside, but at least I know I've tried
Yeah.
to pursue his dreams.
Absolutely.
And to me, that really resonated with me, because it's like, no matter what, like he's willing to die by the roadside to achieve his dreams. And it's just, what else? What is life worth living if you're not doing what you love and pursuing your passion?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And like touch on the leap of faith. It's a lot about honesty and like reflection internally, like because taking you just have to be honest and like what resonates with you, and it takes a lot of time to figure that out some days, but yeah, yeah, I think it's important, like like what Plant was saying, just to go out and just do it, but yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
expect there might be some challenges along the way, and
oh yeah,
might not even work out, but at least you try, because then once you try it, then you can move on to the next thing,
yeah, and
and
it's
maybe it's something even better for you.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's kind of like the idea of what like the idea of like winning and losing. It's like, well, and it's like a loser to me is like someone that didn't even try to go after what they wanted. And I don't like to use the word loser because that, it's not a great thing to call anyone.
Yeah, I
But
know what
or
you mean.
yeah, but it's like, I've ran into people in my life that it's like they would rather play it safe and then go and but be unhappy, or but not go after. But some people are also fine with that, and that's fine, and that's cool. But yeah, I definitely worked a soul sucking job for a long time. And when you realize, like, when you look at life and how much time you have, and then consider all the time that you're working, sleeping, and doing things that you don't really care about, you have very little amount of time. Like it's like months out of your
Yeah.
whole life where you're actually doing stuff. So it's like, kind of like trying to live even when you're doing something that like might not seem like the most exciting or is part of like your passion or dream or whatever. Like even just trying to live that in those moments as well, just to like bring that. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Oh, absolutely, man.
like, yeah, just try to find the thing in whatever you're doing, whatever that thing is, like, you know yeah.
Absolutely. How long have you been playing with Apollo Suns? How many years has that been?
We started our first official show was March 2016, and then we released our first EP in April 2017, and immediately hit the road after that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and there's been like lots of really good stuff, and there's been lots of challenges. Yeah, I will say for anyone who's going after their like their passion, and especially if it's in the arts, resiliency is key. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of no's when you're first starting out, when you're proving, you know,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and I use like I am very much like an what is it, like an A type brain person. Like I'm very ambitious and goal orientated and development, and also very aggressive. Some people have said to a fault at times, but anytime I would get a no, I would immediately be like, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show that person. I'm gonna do it. We're gonna tour a bunch. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna destroy any band that you said yes to. We're gonna play circles around them, and we're gonna like, and we're just gonna like put on a better show, and we're gonna sell more tickets, and I'm gonna show you because like I using spite in the beginning, which I don't know if it's the right thing to do, or even like if it was the right thing for us, but it was like I just believed so heavily in what I was doing that when someone was like, no, I don't get it, I'm like, well, I'll show you. Like,
Well, at the end of the day, you're just proving it to yourself anyway, right? That's what it's all about.
yeah. Hmm. And what's funny is that as we go in further, a lot of those initial no's have now turned into yeses. Like people are like, you just weren't ready back then. Like, yeah, you might have been, you guys were good, but I've had festival buyers and labels now being like, you weren't ready. You weren't ready 4 years ago. Now you're ready.
You
Like,
are ready. Yeah, exactly. Well,
yeah.
you put a lot of work in. Um, so you've done like how many shows did you do last year? Over 100?
It was 100 and I think 28 by the end of it.
128 shows. Wow. That's a lot of shows, especially for
Yeah.
like just a little Canadian band that's looking to break out, and it was all over North
Mhm.
America. Did you guys travel to Europe or anything or
No, not to Europe. We did 34 states, all the provinces, and many of those shows were 3 or 4 set nights. So in those 126 or 28 shows, I think we counted out, it was like 300 and like 70 something sets of 45-minute sets,
Wow.
and then we also recorded an album. We recorded some live off the floor stuff. It was busy. We have a full album already done, ready to go. um and like more details on our socials after that.
Oh yeah.
But but now we're already working on our next album and like getting that ready. So yeah, the band is like, there's not really off times, it's just less busy times at times, but
Yeah, you're kind of going full time. Do you have another job?
no, this is it
This
for
is
me.
it. Oh wow,
i
that's
uh
amazing.
I have been self-employed since I've been 33. And to me, it's funny, like, yeah, we talk about like chasing dreams and making it, or whatever success is to you. I remember like when I was 17 or 18, I told myself that I would consider myself successful when I didn't have to work a day job that I didn't like, or I didn't have to do anything that I didn't want to do. Although you can do that at any point, you just have to reframe your brain, your mind. you know, uh,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, like I think about how immature that statement is. Like, I don't want to do anything I don't want to. It's like, well, that can be anything if you just reprogram or like recontextualize the
Yeah.
situation. Um, for the most part, obviously that's a general statement, but when I reach that like, I'm not working a day job anymore. I'm making money mostly off music, or I do like, I'll book shows for other bands. I'll do grant writing, which helps bring in money just to subsidize my expenses, but or my income. Um, so, but when I reached that at 33, I was like, oh my god, I reached that at 33. I was like, I'm not. I'm not living in a mansion. Like, we have a nice house. I have a nice standard of living. I eat well. I exercise. I have time to set up my schedule how I want, and I have rest times, and I feel good about that. But I'm like, now it's like, okay, I reached that level. That's great, but I'm already like, okay, how do we go even further with that? Like, how do I make it
Raise the
so,
bar.
yeah, raise the bar. And like, everyone that we work with, it's like, I want everyone who works at the Apollo Suns to be able to pay their mortgage or live
Yeah.
their dream life
Yeah.
based on how much what we're doing and our output and our activities, and how they're helping, and like being a part of that team as well. So yeah, it's really cool that it's kind of gotten to that point where 17-year-old me is like, holy shit, you're like doing it. You are a professional player. Because it's still so surreal to me,
Oh yeah.
uh to be like, oh my god, like,
Well, not a lot of people, have their art as their means of income or are
mhm.
doing it full time. So, that in and of itself is pretty awesome and it's an accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's been nice. I mean, there's been times where I've been very much in debt and had to dig out of that, but I
Yeah.
always just try to be like, okay, this is an investment. It's gonna work out, and you're not just doing it willy nilly. You're like taking time to strategically go in debt and be like, okay, how does this service the band, and then dig yourself out a little bit, and then you know, it's
Exactly.
interesting, like I'm running a business and paying 7 people, and all the artists we work with and all the engineers and everyone we come into contact, and it's kind of nutty. Like,
Yeah, it is crazy. Running a band is like running a business. I'm the leader of
oh
my
yeah,
own band and I'm not doing as much as you are yet. And God, I hope I can hire somebody at some point to do all the work that I'm sure you do. But yeah, it can be a lot. Are the same? Is it always the same musicians that you play with live usually for the last couple
now
of
it
years?
is.
Or yeah, okay,
Over the last couple of years, yeah, we had a lot of in and out. And at this point, I've just kind of been like, with anyone coming into the band, yeah, I'm like, this is the amount of work, this is the expectations, this is what you'll get, this is what I expect. You'll get a living wage off of this work. Like, it'll pay your rent. Um, you'll get to see a bunch of the world. You'll get fed, and it'll be a lot of fun if you're into that. If you're into travel, um, so I've been able to get like this lineup. Everyone's kind of just in. It's nice. Like they're like, they're in it, and a lot of the players have been in it for a while now. That they actively have a stake in it. Like they're now helping me, like things that I might not be the best at. They're kind of taking off my plate, and I'm just kind of managing it. And it's like it's just nice that it's because as the band gets bigger, people think that you're gonna work less. I work way harder now, but we're more quote unquote successful because it's just dealing with more team members and more money coming in and out and more contracts and more dates and more things that need management. So my
Yeah.
workload hasn't decreased whatsoever. It's actually kind of increased.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
But it's
Um,
worth it that, you
oh
know,
yeah,
pursuing
oh,
that, the feeling it gives you to, follow your dream and play live shows and release your
oh
music and
yeah,
express yourself,
absolutely, absolutely.
realize your potential, realize your dream.
Hmm.
So this is a 7-piece band. And so when they came to Moncton, I had somebody ask, hey, would you be able to host the Apollo Suns? It's 7 members. And I was like, well, number one, I'm actually playing with them. She didn't know that when she asked me. And
Right.
number two, hell yes, I'll do that. And so I just thought it would be super fun. So they came over, I made them some chili, and I,
Oh,
I
that
love,
show is so good.
yeah, you never forget that, eh? Yeah. It was made
So good.
made from the heart. It probably made you
Yeah,
fart on the road too.
yeah, it's fine. That tour van is a tomb.
Man. Yeah, well, you got such a great group of guys with you, but you were here just for one night, so I only got to see one night of it, and it was awesome because you kind of like you're almost like bringing like a mini city with you, and like you guys come in, you're each like you're kind of like doing your own thing, and like somebody's like playing Minecraft, and you're having a nap, and somebody's doing something else, and
Oh yeah.
it was pretty awesome. But how does that translate to the road? Like there must be some challenges with 7 people. Like that's a lot of people. Most bands, like if they even do tour that much, it's only like 4 guys, but
Yeah.
7 people. So how do you find that?
Um, I mean, it can be challenging, but we challenge each other to communicate well. Like we don't really put up with passive aggressive communication. So if you need something, you just ask for it. Like, oh, I need some space, or I need to eat right now, or this or that, or like, you're really bothering me today. Could you stop? Like, because sometimes we bother each other. And especially if a tour isn't going too well, like I personally will just try to like bottle up all the challenges because I like don't want to put that on the band. But they're also very supportive of like, man, if you're having a hard time or if you're getting shit kicked because like I'm paying for everything, like they're not on the hook. Like they get their daily rate, and then whatever the band makes, we could have a ton of profit or we could have a ton of loss on a tour, but they're getting paid. So if like say a string of 3 shows don't go very well, I feel like, so I'm like, oh god, like, well, Bill's got to get paid,
Yeah.
regardless of whatever happens. So, I definitely wasn't the best at communication at times, especially in my past. So, we've kind of come to this point of like, like I've gone a lot better at being like, okay, it's super stressful, and this is what I need from you guys. And they've been great. And then if someone else is having a bad day, it's like we just talk about it and be like, okay, like, like if you need space, let's do that. But it's also we learned from last year, from April 1st to August 1st, we were only home for about 20 days. So we're splitting up our like tour schedule quite a bit this year, where we're still doing the same amount of dates roughly. But but it's just like we're starting in February and going to like December, so it's still like 100 plus dates, but it's like, yeah, like let's space them out so there's more time at home to rest and like
Yeah,
relax and not be on the road the whole time.
exactly, man. So, what advice would you give to musicians, young or old, who want to get on the road and tour more? I'll give you my example, like for my own band. I feel like there might be some mental blockages, limiting beliefs towards touring, especially as like just we're like an alt rock band, like just plays original music. This day and age, like cost of gas expenses are so high that it almost like discourages me from getting out there and like traveling to Winnipeg for a show and doing more gigs like that. Um, and part of me feels like it's easier for cover bands to do and stuff like that. And so what advice did you give to musicians to break through that barrier to maybe get out there and play more gigs and stuff, and how would they go about doing that?
I mean, if you're gonna be a live band, you just kind of got to go do it. And I guess that's not very good advice, but it's honest advice. We lost money every tour for the first 3 years, and it's just something like, because you're going out and building, like you're going out to these other places that may not see you that often, um, and like you're having to go and um go and follow up. But we start off small. We would just do like a week long, like Thursday to Sunday, like the following week. So we would do 9 day tours and we would do a big loop. We would do like 3 times a year. So that was manageable. If we lost $1,000 a tour, and that's paying everyone after expenses, like that to me is a success. Like, all right, we only lost $1,000. I can go pick up a job and make that back in a couple weeks. And everyone got paid. We built the band up a little bit. We made some new fans, and then it would build up until the next tour. And then maybe next time we only lost $300 for the whole tour. And then the next time we broke even. And then after that, we're making a little bit of money. And then festival offers are coming in, and then you're making more money. But it's like, figure out how to keep costs down is like my practical advice. I'm not going to give you the inspiration advice.
Yeah.
My practical advice is figure out how to keep costs down, be realistic, but also like find the people in those cities you want to work with, and just push really hard. Reach out to everyone. Like hustle when you get into the city. Go to the radio stations, the college radio stations. Go meet all the DJs. Ask them to promote the show. Be professional. Talk to all the bartenders, the venue owner, because they know everyone in that city, and then make friends. And then that's kind of my practical advice. The inspirational advice is that once you find 150 people in your city that are supporting you or whatever, and like giving you money, and they're buying your merch, and they're coming out to shows consistently, and that number is growing, I think at a certain point you have to get out of your hometown, or you're just going to be your hometown band. Like for Winnipeg, I give bands like 3 years. It's like, if you don't get out of Winnipeg within 3 years, you're kind of just going to either be a Winnipeg band, which is fine, and you just play on the weekends and you do the local Winnipeg shows. You might get a couple nice festivals, which is great. Or you have to leave Winnipeg because there isn't enough work in Winnipeg to like, only for a handful of musicians that get every house gig, that get every cover gig, and then they can make their living. But there isn't a lot of work in
Yeah.
Winnipeg. So it's like, if you're an original band, especially, you've got to get out. Um, or you can be an online TikTok band. That's cool too.
Yeah.
Um, but I really love touring and traveling, and I really enjoy it. So um that's kind of, I guess, the advice. I don't know. I hope that helps. But I really love being in a van. I love setting up, and the singular mindedness that you are all on a mission to make this happen. It's also why I love recording, because you are all it's like a group mind, and you're all in it together. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I love that. That's inspiring to me. And it's pretty simple. You kind of just got to do things when you want to, achieve something or accomplish something or experience something.
I
And
mean,
the rest kind of just comes along, and there'll be trial and errors, and you'll figure it out as you go.
I think that's kind of like the thing, like, that why a lot of people like who aren't in arts or music think it's like this, like, not a business, or it's not like, or it's not worthy of the respect of being a huge business or endeavor. Why people are like, oh, music is a hobby. It's like, because I talk to a lot of musicians who are very reluctant to tour because they don't want to lose, they don't want to spend their own money. Man, look at any other business, and obviously like having rich parents helps, and like, the whole like pulling yourself up by your boots, your own bootstraps, and that whole bullshit is like fucked, because like everyone who is successful in business had a lot of support, but they also put in a lot of work as well. As much as I, like, you know dislike certain entrepreneur mindsets in certain ways, like the whole like, oh, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and it's like, no, you had rich parents that invested 200 grand, which is,
Yeah.
obviously you worked hard, but like they also put in a lot of their own money first. and
Hmm.
and I think that's like something, as well, to think about. It's like, and a lot of new musicians are like, oh, I don't want to spend my own money. It's like, man, the amount of my own money I spent on
Oh,
Apollo's
dude.
Sun is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it's
It is.
crazy. If my
Yeah,
band knew how much money I spent, they would just like their jaws would drop to the floor.
yeah, because it's like, well, it's got to either not get done quickly or it doesn't get done well.
Yeah,
So it's like you either have time or money to spend, and when
exactly.
you get to a certain point, you have both. But it's like, you either have one or the other when you're beginning. So you either take a
Yeah.
lot of time or you take a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, and it makes a lot of sense. Maybe a lot of people don't see having a band as a business, but it truly is. And treating it that way, where you're going to have to invest money, before you get a return in the beginning.
Mhm.
That's just how it is, when you're trying to build that.
Yeah, I mean, think of any small business that doesn't have like seed investors and shit. Like you have to put up. And I think that's where, yeah, like a lot of people are like, oh, like, you know, music isn't a business. It's like, no, it is. It very much is. Like yeah, yeah, but
Awesome. Yeah, exactly, man. You know what? Thanks very much. That helps me a lot, and I'm sure it'll help somebody. And I always like to say, like, translate any advice you get from this podcast and apply it to your own life. You don't necessarily have to be in a band, but all of
yeah,
these
totally.
concepts and philosophies we're talking about, you can apply into your own life. So, do you have any funny tour stories that come to mind, or is it all just dry?
I mean,
Yeah, I'll tell you one funny story. When you guys were
sure.
here, it was like 4:30 in the morning, and we were just like sitting there playing guitar, and someone was playing the banjo, and you were just like, "So is this a maritime kitchen party?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess it kind of is. They just naturally happen here."
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard stories. I mean, there was like, as far as tourist story goes, I mean, like there are some that we just don't tell, because like they can be a little more colorful.
Leave it to our
But
imagination.
yeah, yeah, leave it. Yeah, imagine what you think. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, like nothing excessively debaucherous, but I mean, I remember being on the coast. It was our first time at Folly Fest, and I had just done like a ton of mind expansion substances the whole night, and I passed out in the backstage area on the concrete slab, and I woke up to a couple of the guys boiling up lobsters at like 8 in the morning backstage. And I'm so hungover, and just like, and just yeah, and then like, do you want some lobster? So I ended up eating lobster with like these guys from Australia who were playing the festival, and that was great. That was that's a good thing about touring. You meet amazing people. You meet all the best people.
Man, I would love to wake up to lobster at a festival.
Yeah, it's the only time it's ever happened, and it was at Folly Fest. So that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it was there. So what's your guitar of choice?
Well, lately it's been the Go Dan. They were nice enough to send me a guitar.
Oh, nice.
Had,
That's awesome.
yeah, and then I mean, what people might know me for is my very modified Gibson SG that is currently in the shop right now because its headstock came off.
Yeah, I saw that happen just before you came here.
Yeah. Yeah, the third day back out on the road since the pandemic and third day in the US, and it like pops off because someone wasn't careful backstage at the show.
Oh
Um
man.
yeah. But yeah, so that'll be back in the lineup soon. It's just yeah, my guitar tech Lucas, who works on all my guitars, he uh rebuilt from scratch the neck and modeled it after the Gibson one, and then put in a carbon fiber truss rod, and so it's gonna be a lot stronger. Yeah, so that'll be back in the lineup soon, and that'll probably be my guitar of choice. But I love the Godin; it's great. They're great guitars, so
Oh
probably
yeah.
go between.
That's awesome, man. So you're going to be making it back to New Brunswick this year?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we're working on a Moncton date and a Fredericton date, and then maybe a St. Andrews and Halifax. Well, that's Nova Scotia, but yeah, hopefully spend a week out on the coast, and we'll have our new album out by that point. And yeah, it'll be
When's your
great.
album set for release?
We're looking at mid to late summer. We're just kind of working out the details, and we have a couple of potentially very big news items coming up that will pertain to the album. So
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm really
We're
looking forward to it.
we're also working on an album too. So
Nice. How's it going?
how's it going? It's going great, man. It's a blast. I love it.
Yeah. How are you recording it?
Um, well, we're just with our producer Don. We record at his house, and we go record the
Nice.
drums in Amherst. And so Don records, mixes,
Mm-hmm.
and produces our music, and then we send it off to a guy to master.
Nice. That's great.
Pretty simple stuff, but yeah,
Oh
I'd
yeah,
love to.
totally.
I'd love to get up to Winnipeg at some point too. You know, my family lives there, so I already have like a crowd that would come.
I mean, that already. I guess like when you're asking for advice about touring, it's like that already is great. If you know places like any city that you at least have some sort of in
Yeah,
or know five people that will come, that like that's it. Like just go there. Like if
exactly.
you have friends in like Montreal, go to Montreal. Like any excuse to go to these places. Like if you've received airplay in here or here, go there. You know, because
Absolutely,
there's at
man.
least one person you can talk to.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Yeah, no, I'm definitely this year is that's my time to kind of start um
Hmm.
putting more energy and effort into like booking gigs and stuff. Last year was our first year as a band. Like
Oh,
you
that's great.
stopped like we played like our second show with you guys. So
Wow, that was good. That was good. That was a good second show. I mean, that
yeah.
was better than our second show.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, our bass player is 57, so we've got some experience in the band.
That guy's
But
57.
yeah, man. It's like he
Oh,
makes us
shit.
look professional, like like we hired him, but he's literally just part of the band. He's awesome.
No, it's great.
Great. We love him, Chris. Um, yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I'm sure I'll see you at some point this summer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And looking forward to your album and love
Thanks,
what you're
man.
doing. Love the energy of your music. Super high vibes, dancing music, super fun live show that you guys put on. So keep it up. You're
Thank you.
just doing your thing, spreading the music, spreading the love all over the world eventually. And I'm looking to do the same. So hopefully, I'm sure this will inspire people to take action in their own life, pursue their dream.
Totally.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So I will leave all of your information, links to your streaming
Cool.
platforms, website, social media, and stuff in the show description. And yeah, man, thanks so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let me know when it comes out, and I'll make sure to share it.
Sounds like a plan, man. Sweet.
Cool. Have a good one.
You too, man. Have a good night.
Cheers.